Welcome to my session on Empathy First, Humane Security. Before I get into the main topic, I'd just like to shortly introduce myself. My name is David Mantock. I'm the Chief Information Security Officer for Speed Switzerland. As you can see, I have varied experience working at many different companies in various industry sectors. Along the way, I've been able to qualify as a certified information security manager, and in the past I was also doing professional security testing. But anyway, enough about me. Let's get into the topic of today. Really started in noticing that there is an increasing rate of cyber attacks, and we don't always seem to be effective at defending against them. But what I have noticed in the security community is that there are very well trained and talented people. So how is it that we still seem to not execute our missions as efficiently as we can? I really do think that we can leverage that experience, we can leverage that talent, but I do think we need a more holistic approach that we can energize our mission and have good success in our initiatives. So what does this entail? Some of the themes that I really think are just like a starting point. It's not going to be a comprehensive roadmap to actually go into great detail, but there are some areas that we want to cover that I think can be helpful. So it starts with ourselves, that we really enjoy what we do, that we keep the passion, the fires burning. We also need some elements in our toolbox that can help us to have success. And then we want to look at combining those elements that we can build a successful security program. And then, of course, make sure that that program addresses the different levels of the enterprise, namely the strategic, tactical and operational aspects of business. It starts with you, as I've mentioned. We really need to be appreciative of the situation that we're in, because it's a role with responsibility, but it's also a role that we can have great fun. We are self-directed. We are motivated to learn more about stuff. We have a purpose. We're doing something that's important. As you can see from the great pile of books here, we're continuously learning, and this helps us to develop our personal journey. And really, if we are happy on that journey and really convinced of what we're doing, we can engage with our community and with our peers, and I really do think that we can be successful. So building on that, what is it we're trying to communicate, and how are we going to communicate that? These are some of the other themes that we need to explore in this session. First off, it really helps that we have a security philosophy, that these different standards like NIST, like CIS, like ISO standards, that we have a way of internalizing that we can take away the jargon and actually focus on what's important, and that we can carry that to our collaborators, to everybody in enterprise, to everybody in your organization, that they can understand what are the most important aspects of security. So of course we need to know what we want to protect, and what we want to protect is everything in the system. So I like to say know the system. This consists of people, an inventory of assets. When we get onto the technical side, we're talking about the different operating systems that we're supporting, what ports are open on those operating systems, what processes are running, and of course, data classification. We also need to apply the principle of least privilege. We're looking at how we're doing our controls and making sure that we do not give too much access, and we're restricting that access, whether it's person to machine or machine to machine. And then we're also using tactics like defense in depth, where we apply multiple controls to make sure that we have a belts and braces approach to actually defending our areas of interest. Detection is also something that needs to be on our radar, but of course we have to do it in a particular way. We have to do it in a way that it gives value, that enables root cause analysis. So when we're doing monitoring and logging, we really want to actually monitor and log the things that help us to make improvements. Risk assessments is also another important aspect of our mission, and we have to there again acknowledge that sometimes there is a weakness in the way that we look at things, and that we can be wrong in the way that we assess risks, especially us security professionals. We need the context that our colleagues can give us. We need the people who are responsible for the business lines to actually work with us, that we can have an effective risk assessment. As you can see at the top of this philosophy, people are in bold, because people are there with their skills, with their experiences, with their particular know-how of how the business is running. And our job is to actually reach these people that they can help us to be more effective in our mission. Did I say something about people? Well, just to emphasize how important these people are. They're the people that decide on new technology, they decide on new processes, they select what technology to purchase, define what standards are followed, configure the technology, code the application, review agreements, respond to incidents. The people are really employees, contractors, customers, investors. We need to engage all these different people so that we can actually protect the business end to end. So as a leader, how are you going to do that? I think it really is important that you're reflecting on yourself and that you try to be innovative and compassionate. And this is how I see myself as a CISO. I'm the CISO that says, I want security to be wonderful. I want it to be exciting as a great romance. And I really do believe if I bring that excitement into my mission, I can be the change that I want to see. I also think about what I'm doing, and really what I'm thinking is, how do I get this important message across? But also that I get it across on every area of the business. It really has to run through the enterprise from the strategic level, really down to the tactical and operational level. This security message needs to be holistic. Everybody in the enterprise has to understand what you're doing. How do I feel? I feel concerned, but I'm passionate. I know that it's a real challenge that we face. And this is kind of summed up in this picture on this graphic, that the CEO, he's comfortable in bed, so's the CFO, even the COO. But the CISO, where is he? Is he out fighting the next cyber attack, or is he just hiding under the bed in fear? This is kind of the challenge that we face, but we do things. And what a CISO does is he develops and maintains enterprise-wide security programs, and of course the awareness program. We're managing queries regarding data protection. We're also making sure that there is understanding of this data protection and the compliance that goes with it. We are constantly evaluating and reporting and managing security. We're doing risk management, as I mentioned before. And of course, we're monitoring threats and making sure that we take preventative measures. Last but not least, our job is to communicate, and we have to be effective communicators. And one of the things that I'm trying to partake in this presentation, or to pass on in this presentation, is that we need to communicate continuously, and we need to do it with compassion. That means we're looking at the other side of the coin. We're putting ourselves in the shoes of the other person so that we can better understand their needs and then put the security alongside what they are trying to achieve. So how can we do that? I think part of the CISO toolkit is that we come with a new mindset. We're trying to be modest. We don't want to be like Darth Vader. I think we want to be more like Yoda, in that we have this compassionate streak. We don't want to force, we want to encourage. I really do think that the carrot is better than the stick. So some of the things that we are interested in is that we're also humble enough to admit mistakes. We want to share credit, and we want to learn from others. This is the type of leaders that we want to be. We want to employ techniques like visual thinking. This also helps people to understand the complexities that we're dealing with sometimes. We also want to employ techniques like design thinking. We just saw the empathy map before. This is a very brilliant way of actually collaborating with people and getting them to be contributors to whatever you're trying to do. We also need to look after ourselves. Mindfulness is something that can be very helpful to keep us calm and have that neutrality when we come into situations. Nonviolent communication or collaborative communication is also a wonderful tool that helps us to foster that innovation and communication. Retrospectives, which is something that comes out of the relationship counseling, is also another good way of making sure that in our projects we can reflect on what has happened and in a non-offensive way kind of see where we're standing. So we want to say what was good, maybe what was not so good, what we've learned and what still confuses us. But it helps us to actually give an in-point analysis without upsetting people and actually making it a more constructive analysis. Other things that CISO should know, of course, is having some understanding of budgeting and the concerns of the business when it comes to finance. So having some financial training is also very good. And curiosity, that really is a lifesaver. We've already seen that we have to study, we have to learn, and we should be continual learners, not just in our domain of expertise, but we also need to broaden our horizons. And I don't think it hurts for us to get in touch with our inner guru so that we can actually emphasize these points of design thinking, nonviolent communication, and retrospectives. These are the things that make up this as a toolkit and can make us have a winning hand in the challenges that we face today. So I mentioned about communication, and we really do have to communicate continuously. And when we look at communicating at the strategic level, we're talking about communicating to decision makers. So we don't want to alienate them. We have to bring our concerns to them in a simple and understandable way. And one of the most important things that they have to understand is that it's all about people, process, technology, and having a balanced approach to that. And we give them the type of reporting that would actually help them to make informed decisions in the right time. On this graphic, you can see that we made a special report concerning COVID last year, and this was to make sure that people can understand that the risk posture had changed because we're working with more people from home and in this new kind of paradigm. So it was important that we could actually give this information in a way that could be understood. Then you'll find that when the people understand, they're the ones who will help you and also come with ideas that can actually contribute to improving the situation. We mentioned about the people, process and technology and why it's very important on the tactical level when you're dealing with department heads and people who are actually helping to run the operations. It's very good that you can explain to them why you need a balance when it comes to this part of your security mission. You can see if you have the people trained properly, if you have the right processes in place and you're using the right technology, then you're primed for success, if I can actually speak properly. But if you don't have the trained people, if processes are overblown and you only focus on the technology, you're going to end up with poor implementation. If the processes are missing, you're going to get inconsistent results. If you don't have any technology, you're going to have scalability problems. If you only have technology, then you're going to have unused solutions because you have people and processes that cannot use the technology. If you only focus on processes, you're going to have wasted resources. If you're only dealing with people, you're going to have implementation problems. If you do nothing at all, then you're going to have no protective measures. So we really have to have the appropriate technology with clearly defined roles and responsibilities that are supported by the people who can carry them out. Last but not least, we really have to make sure, as I've mentioned before, that we're engaging all the people in the enterprise. And really the best way to do this is to make sure that you have an onboarding process, that every employee gets the opportunity to actually know about your mission and the objectives of the business. What we like to say in our organization is alone we are smart and together we are brilliant. And this is all about, again, leverage that knowledge of the different specialists in your enterprise because they are the context specialists. You may be a security specialist, but it has to be a collaboration between the different stakeholders. And this is how you can make a holistic solution. In this picture here, we can see that we have the prairie dogs. I love this picture because the prairie dogs, they have such an advanced way of communication, and what they tend to do, or what they really do, is that they look out for each other and they can actually alert each other when there is a danger. And this is how I see us as a team within SPE, that we alone we are smart, but together we are brilliant and we are actually looking out for one another. One of the other initiatives that we're doing to actually improve the security awareness within our organization and as part of our continuous communication is that we are working with non-violent communication or collaborative communication, as I've mentioned. And what's important here is that you have a framework where step by step you can actually make a constructive dialogue where at the end there can be an agreed collaboration. So the first important step is that you have observations and not judgments. When you are honest about what you have observed, then you can quite simply say how you feel about that, and actually looking into your feelings, you can also understand what needs need to be addressed in this situation. Once you're clear about your needs, you can actually formulate a request. And I really do emphasize it has to be a request, not a demand. And when people see that it's a fair request, they're normally very willing to actually collaborate with you to actually meet that request. So this is what we're aiming for here. It's very simple in the construct, but of course in the practice, it's not always so easy. But if you're going to succeed, one of the things that you have to remember is that really it is something that you do with a lot of empathy. If you're genuinely concerned about the people that you're dealing with, this is one of the things that will actually help to win them over, but it's something that you can't fake. It really has to be real. Why is there a giraffe on this picture, on this slide? It's because the giraffe is the land animal with the biggest heart, and you need a lot of heart when you're actually looking to work in this way and be collaborative in your efforts to have a more secure enterprise. This is something that we're doing at SPE, where we're training our security ambassadors that they have a basic understanding of good security practices, but it's also really important that they have a good understanding of how to communicate in a way that fosters more empathy, that builds more trust, and ultimately helps us to be a more innovative organization. So, what do we need for an effective security roadmap? We've already seen our very smart CISO that wants to be modern and innovative, but we really also need to be clear as to what a strategy means to us. So really it has to be defined, what do we want to do, how do we do it, whom we do it for, and how do we, or what value do we create? This is the things that make up the element of an effective strategy. Of course, here we can see that there is a clock on the picture and there's also a target. And why we have these two icons is that it makes no sense to make a strategy if it's not time bound and it doesn't have a defined target. And really another important point related to that is we have to, in our programs, make sure that we have people allocated who are responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed, that we can at every stage know who is doing what and by when. We can be successful in our programs, but as the saying goes, if one does not know to which port one is sailing, no wind is favorable. This is a quote from Seneca. So for us, summing up, we have the passion, we have the know-how to actually make something happen in an enterprise, but we have the responsibility to make sure that we're an example, that we engage with the community in a proper way, and then we can actually onboard the people, get them working alongside us, and together in our collaborative mission, we can actually do an empathy-first humane security that brings the results that we need in the enterprise of today. Thank you for listening and be safe out there.